Hello and welcome to Lost in Sci-Fi and Fantasy. I'm your host Leo, and today we're talking The Marvels. So I watched The Marvels like a couple weeks ago now. Sorry if some of the things are a bit patchy, and sorry if I'm a little bit rambly in general because I do have just a bit of a headache because my sleep schedule is garbage. Anywho, I always try to fix it, but I always break it 10 times worse. So today we're talking The Marvels. It's sadly not doing terribly well, and obviously this podcast episode is coming out so late, it's not going to help. I think currently the showings for The Marvels is down to like a handful, and probably by the time this episode goes out, they're just not going to be available, sadly. It's one of those things. Though, of course, it will go through, and then it'll eventually end up on Disney+, but it's one of those situations where I think it's one of those idiots that are like, Marvel's so woke or whatever, and it's just so dumb, and have a very inexplicable hatred of Brie Larson for some unknown reason. I have no clue. Maybe it's because she is strong and pretty, and that intimidates them. I don't know. But we'll leave that whole argument off to the side for this episode, because I don't want to get into it. Other potential causes of the movie not doing terribly well could be, for example, just Marvel fatigue. They were releasing 2-3 movies a year, then COVID hit, and now you have to ask, do you really want to hop into the middle of this ever-changing storyline that's just getting longer and harder to follow? As it is, personally, I have a couple of movies that I've missed out on. I haven't seen Iron Man 3, I haven't seen Black Widow, and I haven't seen Eternals. And there might be another one that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But I haven't seen everything. I'll probably end up doing episodes on those missing bits later. But the other thing is that, similar to Pixar, there's always the feeling that it's going to end up on Disney Plus eventually anyway. So why bother? Similar thing with Indiana Jones. I, as much as I really wanted to see it in theaters, didn't. And that would have been my first Indiana Jones movie in theaters, but I didn't go watch it because, one, I was busy, and two, it felt like I should just, I can wait until it comes out on Disney. That's the problem with a lot of streaming services. If I know it's going to a streaming service I don't have, I might make a bit more of an effort to go watch it. But even then, a couple weeks after it goes to streaming, it's out on DVD, and boom, you got it in your hands, So the world's in a bit of a weird situation when it comes to movies versus streaming and whatnot. But yeah. But that is to say that I do not think that it's failing because it's a bad movie. It's actually a pretty good movie. It does come with some baggage, though. The film is connected to too many things. It's part of the problem of Marvel fatigue is now that they have the TV shows, which are exclusive to Disney Plus, at least until they start coming out on DVD, which they just are with WandaVision coming out on DVD and Blu-ray. It's kind of a situation where the amount of access and understanding to the film becomes a lot harder to grasp because it's connected to so many things. I mean, if you watch the trailer and you haven't seen WandaVision and you haven't seen Ms. Marvel, just those two initially, you're gonna feel like you're missing something. Hell, if you haven't seen Captain Marvel, you might not fully understand. Or Endgame. There's just so many things that it connects to, and even more beyond that makes it to feel like, this is kind of a linchpin thing where a lot of things condense down to this one film that you have to have watched to kind of have a full grasp of the characters. Because this movie does pick up immediately where Ms. Marvel left off. So you're kind of missing all that backstory of the character in this film. And yeah, so with that, I guess we should start with a bit of a mini catch-up of Ms. Marvel, just to get caught up to the film. And then I guess also a mini rundown of Maria Rambeau's thing. Maria or Monica? Monica. Maria and her daughter, Monica. So have to keep, it's Monica. Monica Rambeau, we'll start there. So Monica Rambeau, she was in WandaVision. She was investigating what was going on in Westview and just trying to see what's going on, and ended up getting sucked in to Wanda's hex. Through that, she kind of lost part of herself, and then when Wanda found out that she wasn't originally part of the town, Wanda kicks her out, but Monica forces her way back in, pushing through, and she ends up with, well, powers. So her powers, at least according to this film, because it's when they actually properly explain what her powers are, is that she can see kind of all of the light spectrums. So she can see like all of the stuff. So that's her basic kind of rundown and catch up. Of course, she helped Wanda figure out her issues before going off and joining Saber. Then we have Ms. Marvel. So she, for some reason, absolutely idolizes Captain Marvel. The only time that Kamala would have seen her would be during Endgame. So like the whole thing from the 90s probably would have been covered up, as, you know, it's not mentioned any time before Captain Marvel ended up being a thing, or any time really after. And so the only time she would have seen her and been aware, and according to the beginning of Ms. Marvel, is the case that she saw Captain Marvel during Endgame, and then that was kind of it. Like, I mean, she popped in and out here and there, I think, but I don't think she would have made all that much of an impact during the snap and whatnot. So she does that. For some reason, she idolizes her, but she's trying to do, as Kamala usually is at the beginning of her stories, she wants to go to Avengers Con. In Marvel's Avengers, the video game, the one that everyone didn't like, she's going to AvengerCon, shit goes down, and in that game, the Avengers break up. In this, she's going to AvengerCon. It's supposed to be the very first one, and it's a very niche, dingy kind of convention, you know, held in like a relatively smallish warehouse. She wants to be part of the Captain Marvel costume contest, but she's missing that last bit, that last little bit of flair. And initially, she's thinking of like maybe putting a sash or something, because she wants to combine like Captain Marvel and her heritage together as the unique flair. What she ends up deciding on is some bangle. I was going to say bangles, but it's only one bangle that her grandmother sent her. So she goes, gets it from the chest, puts it on, after she has a bit of a fumble with it, has it put on. And I thought that it was like one of those situations where like she puts it on and then it stuck to her kind of thing. But no, she can take it off. That was not at all a plot thread or an issue, which I guess is kind of refreshing. With that, she gains these kind of powers. But as her friend somehow has access to a DNA sequencer, I guess, he tests her DNA for her and finds that it's not necessarily coming from the bangle. It's more that the bangle unlocked something in her, is kind of the thing. And then at the very end, it's heavily implied that she is actually like a mutant, and it even plays the X-Men theme and whatnot. In the comics, she is a mutant / inhuman hybrid situation, and that's kind of where her powers come from. And also in the comics, her powers are kind of stretchy powers, like Mr. Fantastic. But in this, it's more a light projection deal, or she calls it hard light projection. So she can make platforms, and she can make a stretchy hand out of the hard light. So she still sort of has some of her power set, but not really. Anywho, the show ends with, you know, the whole ordeal and whatnot having passed. I won't necessarily spoil the whole ordeal. She learns about her grandmother's past and whatnot, but she's officially like a superhero and whatnot, and she's super excited. Then one day, she goes to use her powers. She swaps out and is replaced with Carol Danvers, also known as Captain Marvel. That's where the show ends, and that is where the movie begins. So now we're caught up on those two characters. And then, of course, there's Captain Marvel, where the previous movie, Captain Marvel, kind of comes into play. I'll probably talk about all of these things in detail some other time down the line. But for now, a quick brisk thing is good enough. Her deal, and it actually kind of comes up a little bit in this, is that she's still trying to sort out her memories and whatnot, because in the previous film, she had her like mind wiped after she was doing a test flight and the thing exploded, and she ended up getting a ton of like Infinity Stone power put into her, and that's how she got her powers. But anyhow, in this, it begins with the same thing where she kind of gets flung into Kamala's room. She explores, goes out the front door, goes up to the Saber station to talk with Nick Fury. Now, the thing that kind of triggered this is, because this movie is hopping around a lot at the beginning. It's actually a very fun kind of sequence of a lot of different things going on at the same time. So, what kind of happened was Captain Marvel was doing a favor for Nick Fury and checking out an anomaly because the Kree were doing something and he wanted to know what. Because he's worried that this peace deal between the Skrulls and the Kree might, break down. So she goes and investigates, sees that the Kree were definitely doing something weird where they've opened a jump gate, which you kind of see in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where it's like this like hexagonal thing opens up and like punches a hole through, and then you can go through. And it's a fast way to travel through space. So one of those is just stuck open. She goes to investigate. Meanwhile, Monica Rambeau is going to investigate a glitch in their jump gate. So she's, floating ever so slowly towards the anomaly in her space suit, trying to figure out what's happening. And it just so happens that at that time, potentially simultaneously, Captain Marvel, Monica, and Kamala, at the same time, Kamala tried to use her powers, while Captain Marvel and Monica both touched the jump gates, swapping them all instantly. Monica ended up in, on a kind of desolate rock. Kamala ended up in Monica's spacesuit. Captain Marvel ended up in Kamala's room. So that's kind of what happened. So then, after they switch back, Kamala is trying to explain to her parents what was going on, but she's still very confused. Monica is trying to figure out what was going on with Nick Fury, and then Captain Marvel goes and decides to figure out what's going on with the Skrull and the Peace Summit and see what they're doing. So she's sneaking aboard the ship, which then kicks us into this big action sequence where things keep shifting, and all three of them have to fight while teleporting around. It's a very fun, interesting thing. And it turns out, fun fact, that they can teleport people with them if they grab them. So what ends up happening is, in the middle of a stealth section, they get teleported. Oh dear. It's a very complex movie with how fast and how often they keep jumping around. But basically, it ends up where Kamala ends up taking some people from some Kree warriors back to her house, and that's where part of the fight scene happens. Part of the fight scene happens at the Kree spaceship, and they're jumping around doing that. The Captain Marvel's cat is back doing Captain Marvel's cat things. After this fight scene, they try to figure things out. There's a danger scene where Kamala accidentally switches with Carol and ends up falling from the sky. And so Monica has to try to save her, and then they switch through, and it ends up fine. So they all have to stay together so that, the switching doesn't become too much of an issue, and they go to, I think, Skrullos? The home planet of the Skrulls? No, I don't think it's Skrullos. No, it's a planet where the Skrull are staying, and basically because of Carol's intervention in the situation, they decided to do what they were going to do anyway, and attack. Basically, the Kree's plan for this meeting was to get, at the very least, to broker a peace deal with the Skrull, and they were already kind of implying that they were going to destroy the planet that they were on. But I think the idea was that they were going to have the Skrull come with them to the Kree homeworld and then suck out all the oxygen from the place that they were at. Because that is the overall plan. Is that this person, what is her name? Dar-Ben. She is trying to rebuild this planet at any means necessary situation. So she's stealing the atmosphere from one planet, the ocean from another planet, that kind of thing. The way she's going about it is, well, in a very destructive manner. Starting off with the Skrull place, so they fail, the atmosphere starts getting stripped, so I guess we can call the group now the Marvels, try to go through and save as many as they can, but Captain Marvel kind of slaps Kamala with the hard lesson of you can't save everybody. You know, kind of you shouldn't meet your heroes kind of thing. Even though Kamala still holds on fairly tightly to the fangirly, starstruck nature, you'd think that this kind of scene would have hurt that more, but it didn't. But yeah, it's the lesson that you can't necessarily save everybody, a lesson that Kamala kind of turns around on her later in the film. But yeah, so they go around, and while they're trying to figure out what Dar-Ben's plan is, they try to figure out how to work better as a team. This is where the first kind of cameo thing comes in as well, because after they save the Skrull, Valkyrie comes in and gives the Skrull refugees a place to stay. And then she's gone for the rest of the film. She just pops in. Because why not? But yeah, so they start trying to figure out how to work together. They also use supposedly a Kree torture device, but Carol's been using it to try to untangle her memories, to figure out where their next plan attack is, because they use it on Kamala, and I guess if they all use it at the same time, they can all see each other's memories at that point. So this is how Carol learns that Maria, actually Maria this time, died. So, and just how hard it was for Monica after the death of her mother to not have anyone around for support. And yeah, so that's kind of that. But they also do get the location that they need to go to, and they start doing this big, fun training sequence, trying to figure out how best to. It is a nice training montage for figuring out how to best utilize the switching and whatnot. Then they go to this kind of water-based planet, where it turns out Carol is a princess. She has agreed to marry the prince there for political reasons. And it is a planet where you have to sing. The language there is through song, so if you're not singing, they don't really understand what you're saying. It's very interesting, but yeah, it's also a bit of a nice bit of brevity. But the reason that Dar-Ben's attacking this planet is because they want the ocean. It is also shown that it is almost certainly a minor revenge thing, because Carol explains that this is her fault. What happened to the Kree homeworld is her fault. When she destroyed the Supreme Intelligence or whatever in the last film, it was supposed to, she thought it was going to free them, but it ended up that it created a massive power vacuum that led to a civil war. All of the planet's resources just completely got screwed. and their son died for some reason. I don't know why it died, but it died. So Darben is targeting planets that are significant to Carol. The Skrulls, because her whole thing was trying to help them in the previous film. This planet, because again she helped them with a political situation and agreed to marry him for said political situation. But yeah, so they go there, they warn the prince about the incoming danger, they fight, but it's obviously not a winnable battle, no matter how hard they try. And so they have to cut and run as the ocean is sucked away from this planet. Then, I believe we then just kind of start building towards the final bit, which is Darben's final target is the Earth's sun. So, gonna open a jump gate there, and having these jump gates open is having trouble and starting to collapse reality or whatever. It's a very dangerous situation. So they go confront her, and it's a big old fight. She ends up getting like a bit of building dropped on her and stabbed. Carol lifts it off and promises Darben that, because they come to the realization that Carol very likely has the power to restart their son in all reality, because she's extremely powerful. So she probably has the power to restart the sun. So they promise Darben to do that, but Darben is like, no. Takes Kamala's bangle, because the whole plot is revolving around the other bangle. I completely forgot to mention that. It's revolving around the other bangle. And the fact that in order to actually properly have the power to restart the sun, you need both bangles. Is the idea. At least to restart it that way. And to have a stable jump gate to suck the power from one sun to the other is again, the idea. But the power ends up being too much, and Darben just kind of dies. Then they give the second bangle, or both bangles, back to Kamala, so now she has both and is fully powered up. It's deemed that the best way to do this is that they need to physically close the gate that is stuck open. And the gate is open to another dimension, supposedly. So Monica votes to go to the other side, close it from there, while Kamala pulls it from this side. And, well, they succeed, but Monica is stuck on the other side. Captain Marvel goes off to the Kree homeworld to keep the promise and restart the sun. Kamala goes home and is inspired by Nick Fury to start a young Avengers of sorts, and goes off and Nick Fury's her way about, specifically trying to recruit Kate Bishop from the Hawkeye TV series. She also mentions, I believe, Cassie Lang, Ant-Man's daughter. And then we get the post-credit scene, which is Monica in this other dimension, where we see X-Men's Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer, which is pretty cool. But she's also there with her mother, except for in this dimension or universe or whatever, she is not, Monica Rambeau is not the daughter of Maria Rambeau. It's, in fact, I believe her superhero name in this one is Binary. So, Binary, from what I've been able to pick up, is it's a separate version of Captain Marvel's powers. So this is probably a universe or dimension or whatever where she, Maria Rambeau, got the Captain Marvel powers, similar to what you see in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Except for this time, instead of staying Captain Marvel, she became Binary. And I believe in the comics, Binary is a character that it changes, like a lot of characters, and I think one version is like Binary is the manifestation of her powers kind of thing. So in this, think of it kind of like how Captain America has his nomad phase, where he just like says, "Screw America, America's fucked. I'm gonna grow a beard and wander off," kind of thing. Or how Superman has his grounded phase, or when he split into those two different Supermen, the blue and the red one, I think. Comics are weird, you know? But that's the movie overall. The explanation for their switching is that all of their powers are light-based. So they are cosmically intertwined, or what's it called? It says it here. Quantum entanglement. So because all of their powers have a similar basis, Kamala can manipulate light into a solid form. Monica can see all of the spectrums of light and kind of manipulate it a little bit on the non-visible form. Like, she can use it to fly, but when she's flying, she is not physical. So she can't grab stuff. Captain Marvel's able to manipulate light into powerful energy blasts kind of thing. And also the ability to fly and space and whatnot. So, stuff. But yeah, so that's the film. Again, overall it's pretty good. It has some lighthearted moments, some dire moments. I wouldn't rank it probably on the best, like on the higher scale, but it's definitely good between high and mid. I'd put it around there. Because Marvel on the lower scale can be rough. But Marvel at the mid scale is okay. Like, a lot of the mid Marvel movies are like The Incredible Hulk, Black Widow, that kind of thing. Movies that you look at and you're like, this one is pretty good, but it does require a bit of backstory a lot of the time to make sure that you are kind of caught up on what's going on. And then, then you can probably enjoy it pretty comfortably, but it makes it feel like a bit of a chore, It's not the best. Yeah, so overall, the visual effects are pretty good. The plotline with the cat is pretty fun. When there's just like an issue on the Saber space station during the film that is almost catastrophic to the thing for some reason. It's not even necessarily like anyone caused it or anything. It's just something that happened. The cats are used as... because the cat has kittens. Because, it's like a B plot, or technically maybe a C plot of the film, where these weird masses are appearing on the ship. And they're appearing everywhere on the ship. And they have to... they're trying to figure out what it is, but a lot of critical systems are starting to go down on the space station. So when one of these finally hatches, it's revealed to be a kitten. The cat, which I can't remember what its species is called, the one that has the tentacles that eat people. It has a ton of kittens. So because of the fact that the escape pods are having issues, at least a majority of them are having issues, they're going to condense everyone down into the cats and herd all the cats onto the escape pods, the remaining escape pods, and get everyone safely to the ground, and where they are then promptly regurgitated. And it's a pretty fun scene where not only do they have to herd the cats, but they have to herd the people into the cats. And yeah, it's a pretty fun scene. It definitely has moments that when you watch them, you're like, oh, this is pretty fun, and a silly sci-fi concept that is kind of deserving of randomness, I guess. But yeah, I think with that said, that is it, I think. So yeah, we'll go ahead and call it there. Feel free to check out the other stuff that I'm doing. Hopefully by this time I will have at least streamed once or twice, and I plan on streaming a little bit more. But we are entering the holiday season, so that's going to kind of narrow down a bit. In fact, next week is Christmas. Now, I was racking my brain for a good while. What am I going to do for Christmas? Do I do a Christmas film? Even though there's not really any sci-fi Christmas films, I guess I could technically do the Santa Claus, but I don't really want to do the Santa Claus right now. You know, I don't want it to be my first Christmas thing. So what do? I know. I'll do the Doctor Who specials that have been coming out recently. Because those are usually centered around Christmas. I don't know if these ones are. But usually Doctor Who specials are centered around Christmas. So I'll do that. And then from there, I'll follow it up with the first season of technically what people call New Who, when Doctor Who was rebooted with the 9th Doctor. So we'll talk about the Christopher Eccleston season of Doctor Who. I had trouble figuring out what I was going to name that episode, but yeah. So we're doing the 60th anniversary specials on Christmas, and then on New Year's, Doctor Who Season 1. And then from there, we will figure it out. We'll probably go something a little bit more niche following Doctor Who. I just don't know what yet. Maybe Flash Gordon. I've been meaning to do Flash Gordon, and I haven't done it yet. So maybe Flash Gordon. We'll see. But with that, I do want to say thank you guys so much for listening, and feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, or if you are on any podcast catcher of your choice. Feel free to rate, review, share it with your friends. Help spread this out a little bit. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching / listening, depending on however you did it. And I will talk to you guys next week with the Doctor Who 60th anniversary specials. Goodbye.